Yes, I salute you all. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. So basically, today we are under the law of negligence, and the law of negligence, whereby other universities call it the law of torts paper 2, others say the law of negligence, basically. And today we are going to look at the elements of what? Of negligence, elements of negligence. Basically, uh, for you to be well versed with the law of negligence, the landmark case of Donoghue versus Stevenson is the one that brought that modernity or that improvement or that civilization in the law of negligence, basically. We have three elements under the law of negligence. One of it is the duty of care. Another one, we have breach of duty of care. A third one, we have injury, stroke damage. Basically, those are the three elements of negligence. Now, in this essence, what we are going to look at, we are going to look at those elements. But those elements, they were deprived in the case of Donoghue versus Stevenson. In the case of Donoghue versus Stevenson, this is where the court, Lord Atkinson, brought up the neighborhood principle, whereby you define a neighbor in law that a person who can be affected by your acts. That is a neighbor, according to that case. And here they say that a manufacturer owes a duty of care towards the ultimate consumer, as we shall see product liability, basically. So in this essence, what you are looking at, under that case, brought up those three elements, that you have a duty of care, you have breached that duty, and it has led to injury, stroke damage. So basically, we are going to first look at what they call duty of care. The duty of care, basically, in this essence, you owe a duty of care. In this essence, and basically, when you see the evolution of Donoghue versus Stevenson, the evolution of negligence, the law of negligence, it started from Donoghue versus Stevenson. It later went to Ans versus Menton Borough Council. Menton Borough Council, Ans, ANNS. Then later it came to Caparo versus Dickman. You get it came to Caparo versus Dickman. So here what you're going to look at before internalizing, in the case of Ans versus Menton Borough Council, this council was in a violation of a breach of the duty of care, whereby they had to ensure that the building was in a reasonable depth. You get, but however, the depth wasn't reasonable and it collapsed and led to injury. So the council had abandoned its duty of care for the effective supervision to ensure that the building was in the exact depth. You get. Then Caparo versus Dickman, this was there were misstatements, negligent statements, whereby the audit reports showed profit. But when this person purchased shares, realized that the company was making only losses. So it led to him suffering loss. So Dickman, being the company auditor, was held to be liable for breach of duty of care which he had. You get. So basically, when you look at duty of care, where you look at the neighborhood principle, we can look at two elements under duty of care. We have reasonable foreseeability or foresight of harm. We also have what they call proximity, the level of proximity. And when you are realized under the reasonable foresight, there is the case of Top versus London Country Bus. Under this case, it was where the defendant, the bus company, left a minibus in the somewhere for an overnight. It was unlocked and the keys left in somewhere near. You get, so it was unlocked. So thieves stole the bus, and as when they stole the bus, they took it and knocked a woman off the bicycle, basically. So in this essence, the plaintiff brought an action that the defendants were in breach of what? Of a duty. But however, court held that the company did not have a duty of care to the acts of the third party. Reason being that it was not foreseeable that once you leave the bus here, the thieves will come and take use of it, basically. So note that in mind. Duty of care. There must be a bit of foreseeability. You get. Then there is proximity still under the duty of care. Proximity is how close are you? The proximity. Proxim is the length, the closeness. They are the ones that we are looking at. How close are you? Proximity, we can look at the case of Donoghue versus Young. Donoghue versus Young, however, this case can be seen as injury without impact or psychiatric injury. The case of Donoghue versus Young, however, court held that however much Donoghue was a primary victim, but ever court held that the proximity, there were no close relationship between him and actually between the plaintiff and the defendant. Reason being that this was a car that fell on the accident. So when this person came to rescue, he found that blood was all over, something that traumatized his mind, having a psychiatric injury. So when he brought a cause of action, court held that it was not foreseeable. But in the modernity, we shall see under rescue situations or injury without impact, where the law was developed on negligence concerning that. You get. So that is proximity. Then we have the breach of duty of care. Breach of duty of care, in this essence, you had the duty of which you breached this duty. Basically, that's what you are looking at. You had the duty, but you breached the duty of what? The duty of care. In this essence, you can look at the case of Home Office versus Dorset Yachet Company Limited. Under this case of Home Office, realize that Home Office were the plaintiffs, you get. And in this essence, some often young offenders were doing some supervised work. They were under supervision of a particular work or a particular job, basically. So as they were doing this work, it was done under close what? Close supervisions, you get, on a sea island under, they were called Boston region, something like that. So one night, the Boston officers retired for the evening, leaving the boys unsupervised. You get. So when they left the boys unsupervised, these boys, they were 7, escaped and stole a boat which collided with the yachet owned by the claimant. You get. So in this essence, they held that the defendant was liable. You get. The defendant was liable, reason being he had a duty to ensure that those boys are in close supervision. You get. The post officers were working there, they were working under the control of the defendant. You get. So the defendant in this essence was a third party who was liable for the acts of his agents. The agents, the Bristol officers that left the boys unsupervised. And in this essence, it is foreseeable that once you leave these boys unsupervised, they could cause harm or injury. So in this essence, they decided to leave them, something that led to an injury, basically. So that is the breach of duty of care. And also injury and damage, we have seen it in that case, that where there is breach of duty, or where there is duty of care and there is breach, there must be injury, stroke damage. You get. That is the key element. However much there is breach, you had a duty and you breached. Once there is no injury and damage, you cannot claim under negligence. Unlike when you prove the 3 ingredients. You get. We shall see this ingredient of damage, stroke, injury. We shall see it in remoteness of damages. More so under causation. We shall see it more there. But for now, they are the elements of what? The 3 elements of negligence in the law of what? Negligence, or in the tort law, the law of torts, paper 2. But other than that, thank you for listening and thank you for watching. Stay blessed and keep watching.